Hi everyone, my name is Doug Putnam. In this screencast, I'm going to show you how to create a Unix shell environment that will help you work more efficiently. Most beginners have a hard time with Unix because the Unix prompt doesn't tell you very much. It's really terse and mysterious. But I can show you a few pointers that will help you work much more efficiently. You'll find working with Unix can be really a pleasure if you know how to get around the system. To get off to a good start with Unix, you need to have three things. The first is a good prompt. A good prompt can tell you where you are. Secondly, you need some aliases to automate tasks. And thirdly, you need some colors. Colors will make you feel happy when you log in. The prompt is in a variable named PS1. So let's log into a remote system and fix it. Let's fix our prompt. The first thing we'll do then is to play with PS1 to see what we can do with it. We'll log into our server named Norbert, and notice that the prompt is very vague. It just says bash and there's a $sign there. So we can put anything we want in PS1. I'm just going to put a percentage there for now. So just putting percentage there doesn't really fix anything for me. What we need is maybe a username and maybe a host name. So bash provides some escape sequences that will print those for us when we include them in PS1. So I'm going to put in \u, \h, and \w. This way, I'll know who I am and where I am. If you have multiple accounts on multiple servers, it's easy to forget who you are and maybe do things on a server that you really wouldn't do if you knew who you were at that moment. So now, notice that I've set my prompt. I have my username and my host name, and I can switch from directory to directory, and my prompt shows where I am. The problem is, I keep getting shifted further and further off to the right, so my cursor is almost wrapped around. So I'm going to reset PS1, and I'll put in a new line, and then I'll change the prompt. I'll just put the username and host name on one line, and put the path on the second line. On the third line, I'll put my percentage sign. So now I have a lot of room. I always like a little white space. I don't mind losing a few lines. But now when I switch around, my prompt, my cursor that is, stays in the same position, but the path name grows above it. Wow. So I'm going to exit and go back to my local server. But when I log back in again, notice my PS1 is gone. So it was a temporary variable. It only existed while I was logged in. What I need to do is make it permanent. And to do that, we're going to use bash profile. So bash profile is read automatically every time you log in. The bash shell will read it and then execute any commands there. So when we log back into Norbert, we're going to run the cd command to make sure we're in our home directory. Then I'm going to edit the file .bash profile. It may not exist, so I'm going to create it. I'm going to put my PS1 text back into that file, the same thing I typed on the command line. And this time it'll be permanent. It will be read every time I log in. So I won't have to keep retyping that code over and over. But before I can run it now, I have to source it. So I source it by using a dot and then putting the name there. This will execute those commands. After I execute the commands, I'm going to see my prompt change. Notice I've got my prompt back. There's my username and my host name, and then the tilde, that's my home directory path. So when I start switching around and moving around through the directory system, my prompt will reflect where I am. This is exactly what I want. I always know where I am now. So let's log out and log back in again to see if it worked. Here I am. There's my prompt again. That's just what I wanted to see. Next, we'll create an alias. Let's say that we have a file deep within a file system that we have to edit frequently. It's a pain to have to type in that directory structure every time we need to go edit that file. This is the perfect place to create an alias. We can put it into a shortcut. Simply type in the shortcut and end up editing the file. So we navigate deep into this long name file system And then we edit the file. This is what our task will be. After we edit it, we will save it and move back to the home directory. Once we get to the home directory, we're going to open up .bash profile again and put our alias in there. This way, every time we log in, .bash profile gets read by the bash shell, and all of the commands inside will be executed, including creating our alias. So let's look at the syntax for an alias. If we want to create an alias, we use the alias keyword, and then we put our label. In this case, I'm going to call it vi this because it's in that this long name directory. And then we use a single quote if there are any spaces in this command. So I say vi tilde public HTML, etc., using the full path name to the file. If I use the full path name, I can call vi this from any place in the file system, and I will edit that file. I have to source the file again to read the commands, and then I type vi this, and magically I'm editing the file deep in the file system. Hooray! This saves a lot of work and a lot of time. I have many on my system. I have hundreds of aliases. Sometimes you can have too many. You may even forget the names of some of them. But if you need to find the names, you simply type the command set. The set command on the command line will show you all of your aliases. The next part of our tutorial is shell colors. Shell colors are going to be a little more complex and take a little more time, so I'll add them in the second part to this video. In the meantime, there's a lot of information you can get about the bash shell on Google.